could observe is the funny kind of cameras that you're all well aware of, the All Sky 7 cameras, and then how we organized on very short notice search campaigns. And at that very part, Andreas will take over, and he will explain to you really what happened in the field there in Ribbeck, and what we found and also what we didn't find. So everything started on the 20th of January 2024. Then some well-known Hungarian astronomer who's in the room, Christian, where are you? Somewhere at the back, was again using a nice telescope, observing the stars. We are searching probably for asteroid, and found a little guy which he named originally ZAR 72736 with a 60 centimeter Schmidt telescope. So that was, this time is always local time, so that's yeah, just well an hour before local midnight. And it was more or less immediately clear that this is like a special asteroid. So from what I read right in the beginning, the chance for an impact on Earth was already 7%. You know, this is ridiculously high. Usually it's well below zero, say. So there was already right from the beginning a good chance that this little object could hit the Earth. And it was also from the beginning clear that it's just a very small object. So by that time it was estimated to maybe about a meter. Later we now know probably it was a little smaller than a meter. So formally it was not an asteroid, formally it was a meteoroid, because the formal definition says beyond 1 meter asteroid, below 1 meter meteoroid. Okay, by that time it was an asteroid. And yes, the great thing is, since Christian alerted the community that within the next 2 or 3 hours, more than 180 observations of this event were actually obtained, so that the orbit or the trajectory of this little asteroid or meteoroid was really very well determined. So this is how the story started at 22:48. So then about 1 hour later, the Meerkat system, that's the early warning system from ESA, which was developed by Michael, who is also somewhere in the room, so you can talk to him later at the conference if you like, has sent out this alert. I just put down some of the screenshots here. So it says 100% chance of impact. So by that time, it was perfectly clear this little asteroid would hit Earth. It also, yeah, gives some facts, some figures about the size. It said already about 1 meter. And the most interesting thing is it also gives you a rough estimation where on Earth this asteroid would impact. And it gives also the coordinates, which says 12.74 degree longitude, 52.39 latitude. And those who are living close to Berlin immediately recognize, whoops, that is Berlin, or at least close to Berlin. All right, and indeed, if you just take these coordinates and put it on a map, so this is like Google Maps. Here we have Berlin. This is rounded to 2 figures, this position, and Ribbeck is about here. So that prediction 1.5 hours before the impact was already accurate, even with rounded figures, to about 10 kilometers. Really amazing. That was at 23:53, just before midnight, chance of impact 100%. So let's proceed. Now this information was sent out by Meerkat and also made it to some social media, for example, on the IMO Twitter account at 0:19, just after midnight. There was this alert sent out, so via a Twitter account, also on the homepage, I believe. But of course, the question is, who is still awake at 1:19? No, sorry, 19 minutes after midnight, local time in Germany. It was a Saturday morning. Yes, it was a Saturday morning. No, it was a Saturday, even a Sunday morning. It was a Sunday morning. So yes, chances are good. People do not have to go to work. But again, yeah, who is reading IMO Twitter account at 0:19? Well, actually, I did read it, but I was awake. And why I have been awake at this time? Because it was just 1.5 months before our AKM seminar, where I wanted to give a presentation, and I was still busy coding on meteor flux. And you know, when I'm coding, then I don't want to be interrupted. I don't want to be disturbed. So I shut down. I do not look at emails. I do not look at phones. I do not look at my smartphone. I just focus on email. So the good thing is I'm awake. The bad thing is I'm just focused on my computer and I don't get the information. Right, let's see. We have now 0:35, just after half past midnight. Well, I see my phone is ringing, and I have a quick glance at the phone number. Looks strange, very long phone number. And if I see it right, starts with 001. Well, an American would call me, that must be a mistake. So I ignored it. 2 phone calls, just midnight. 5 minutes later, I even get a personal email by Peter Janiskin, who tell me, hey, have a look. There is an asteroid going down and your camera is probably at the prime position. Well, as I said, I didn't read email because I was programming. At 1:14, remember the forecast says 1:32, at 1:14, again, my dirty little smartphone is making some noise. There's a WhatsApp message. Okay, finally, I look at the WhatsApp message, and this is what I receive. It's actually from Michael again, who said, hey, have you noticed, have you read the news that there is an asteroid or there's a bright fireball to be expected soon? And he sent it to me, as I said, 0 o'clock, 29 minutes. I just read it at 1:15. What happened? Though I was totally petrified. All right, the good news was, it was still before the event. So I didn't notice after the event, it was before the event, but it was just 17 minutes left. And now the big question was, what shall I do first? You know, I got alerted. My next thought was, who else do I need to alert that everyone can really see this fireball? So let's see. The first thing, we do have all these nice little WhatsApp mailing lists. So the first message I sent out to our AKM, German Meteor Group mailing list that said, everyone have a look, here is something going on. And that worked out, actually. It turned out later that at least 2 of our AKM members, 2 camera operators, read the message. They were also still awake, and they only saw the fireball because they saw my alert. That is good. 1 o'clock, 60 minutes. 4 minutes later, I sent another, in this case, not a WhatsApp message. I called actually my daughter, who was at that time in our Brandenburg house where my camera is located, and said, my daughter is like me, like late bird, so she was still awake. Get into our sleeping room, wake up mom, get out to the terrace, have a look outside. There will be a wonderful fireball. It worked out. Both of them have seen the fireball. They were really happy about me alerting them. Still, 1 o'clock, 20 minutes. Another WhatsApp message. We have also a family group, like my sister and my brother-in-law and so on. So I also sent them, please move out. That's a one-time chance in your lifetime. And indeed, yes, my nephew was still awake by that time, and he saw the fireball. Good news. 1 o'clock, 20 minutes still. I mean, WhatsApp, you can copy and paste quite fast such messages to the next group. We have also for some former schoolmates, we have a little group, which are also, they are somewhat interested in astronomy. So I also said to them, go out, you're in Berlin, you can watch that one. But you know, they are not really astronomers. So they started to discuss with me, so where do I have to look at really, and so on. I didn't have the time. So unfortunately, they were alerted by me, but they didn't see it. Then amazing thing. 1 o'clock, 25 minutes, so 7 minutes before impact. The last observation of this asteroid or meteorite was taken. It's visible down here. It's from an observatory in Italy. I think that's a 10-second exposure time, and we see how this asteroid is entering the Earth's shadow. It's really amazing. So it really fades, it disappears in the Earth's shadow just 7 minutes before impact. Really cool. 1 o'clock, 25. Remember, X time is 1 o'clock 32, the prediction. Still 7 minutes left. What can I do? Well, still send out some emails. But you know, email is definitely not the right thing to alert people about this. So I sent an email to our All Sky 7 mailing list. No one really read it. No one was really awake. I sent also still a short thank you to Peter because I was really happy. Meanwhile, I had noticed he was alerting me, yes. So I said, hey, thank you, Peter. Thanks. I will be there. I will be out. I will watch for it. Sent one more alerting to our mailing list of the astronomers in Berlin. No reaction. They didn't see it. 1:29, 3 minutes to impact. Peter is responding, well, you know, you're in Bavaria, but give it a try. You should have the chance, maybe low in the horizon. Well, yes, it was a nice idea, but if I would have had the chance, I would have need to move out of my house because we are living in a valley. I would have to walk up the hill. That would have taken me like 5 or 10 minutes. No way. So yes, I gave it a try. I went to the window of my bathroom, opened the window, which is in the northern direction, and watched out. But as you will hear in a minute, don't want to spoil too much, I didn't succeed. Anyhow, we have it, 1:32:43. That's the time when the impact happened. Now we come to the observations. I was standing there at the window. Yes, I didn't see anything, but we have these fancy little cameras spread all over Germany, And now I can give you some views on the fireball from every direction. So Peter Lindner, for example, his camera is located in Hoyerswerda, which is like southeast of Ribbeck. And this is how it looks from his perspective, about 100 to 150 kilometer away. Still quite distant, but nice. So that's the view from the southeast. Of course, we have more cameras. We have also cameras in the north. And remember, Wolfgang was also one of the guys who I alerted and who saw it with his own eyes. This is what his camera saw. This is now in Demmin, which is like about 100 kilometers north of Ribbeck. You see some clouds there. And you see that also the fireball just appeared in this little cloud gap. But of course, we have more cameras. We can get even closer. So west of Ribbeck is, for example, Wolfsburg, at Planetarium Wolfsburg. And again, maybe 100, 150 kilometers away, we have AMS 213. Like this is now the view from west of the fireball. And of course, Andreas is sitting here. AMS 22 is located in Lindbergh at his side. And the nice thing, he is looking into the western direction, so he even has the moon inside the field of view, which gives us a nice comparison of the brightness of the fireball. So here the distance is less than 100 kilometer. Let's give this one more try. Looks really nice. At last not least, since we now had all the directions, we have my own camera in Ketzür in Brandenburg, which is like looking from below. We have on top CAM8, which is a fisheye camera, which we have installed recently, like to get a nice overview and get some kind of photometry. So this was a view from my fisheye camera on top. Pretty bright. And now we have, of course, the close-up views, which you probably have already seen from one of the Venice-facing cameras with a smaller field of view at a distance of, well, 50 to 60 kilometer directly to those little fragments that you see disappearing there. And the last view here, the second one, or the previous one, was already with reduced resolution. So this is really here the full resolution view, the best that we can get off the entry of this little asteroid. That's really cool. And you see all the little fragments which are disappearing, which hopefully at some later time we'll find on the ground, but we'll see. All right, so that was the observational part. Now let's come to the organization of the ground search. So the first thing, of course, I realized at 1:33, time was over, I haven't seen anything, I was out, right? I didn't see it, but at the very minute I got already the first confirmation. In this case, my nephew wrote me, "Wow, Wahnsinn, cool, I've seen it. I had a chance, I was looking in the right direction with a number of typos here." So he was really excited about this. So I knew, all right, it has happened, and it was seen. 10 minutes later, now 11. 11 minutes later, first email by Peter Janiskins. "We need a trajectory, ASAP." Hey guys, 11 minutes after the thing is falling down, we need a trajectory. That was pretty fast. Well, we didn't have a trajectory by that time, obviously. But at least we knew that Peter is highly interested. And the first thing, of course, I did, I was logging into my own camera, AMS 16, I was checking the recording, and yes, got it. Direct hit. I've seen the recordings that I just showed you. We have recorded that very event. That's cool. 1:55, involving Mike, involving HQ, headquarter. "Hey, Mike, we got it. Houston, please take over. So we have the recording. Please, you are doing all the trajectory, all the orbit kind of stuff, and tell us where to search." So, 1:59, Andre, still awake by that time. What about the recordings? Can we share them? Indeed, interesting question. I mean, usually, of course, we can share it. But in such an event, you think about it twice. So it took us some 24 hours to really discuss what needs to be done, what needs to be watermarked, and so on, before we can really publish these observations. Same night, 2:24, so about less than 1 hour, again, mail by Peter Janiskins. "Is it feasible to have a group search with maybe like 10 to 12 people and looking, the earliest I can come to Berlin is Monday morning." So he was serious already, considering by that time to come over from California to Berlin to join the search. Yeah, that's pretty straightforward. 2:54, I mean, that's really getting the time when you start to get tired. At least I decided before I go to bed, a short thank you to Christian for this wonderful detection, for this wonderful evening. That was definitely necessary. So I sent a thank you to Christian and created also a first WhatsApp group, the one which was really busy in the days to come, because there we shared all the information and who would participate and who is watching where and so on. And then finally at 3:07, I wrote my very last email and I went to bed. That was a long night. Sunday morning, 9:30, I wake up. My smartphone sitting next to me. First look, of course, looking at my smartphone into the WhatsApp group. What has happened? Yes, of course, there's a mail by Mike. And again, whoops, I'm totally petrified. Why? Because I look at this graph here and I look at the name of the site and I believe they are pretty well known to me because they're very, very close to our house there in Brandenburg. In fact, it's just 20 kilometers. So more or less, these meteorites, if they have fallen down, have more or less fallen into my front garden, almost, like 20 kilometers away. But what is 20 kilometers? All right, 9:31. I take a shower, and while standing on the shower, I decide, all right, so this is really a unique event. We have to do a search, and we have to do it today. We have to start today. So I decide, okay, even if I am now located in Munich, I will drive to Berlin. And how long will it take? So it's like almost 10 o'clock. I have a fast car. It's like 500 kilometers plus. So 3 p.m. I can make it for 3 p.m. So I decide at 3 p.m. we will meet on site. So who is we? Of course, I will invite the known guys. I've saved my breakfast. I take my breakfast while driving already, while driving on the motorway. And little to 11, I also, again, don't text and drive. Yes, I did that. I was driving and looking in parallel at my smartphone. So where could we actually meet? Was deciding, okay, Möller is a nice little village there in the area close to the predicted impact site. So let's send out the message, we meet at Möller. And doing a number of phone calls while driving. I mean, that is, of course, hands-free. This is all fine. Inviting all, calling a number of AKM members, calling a number of All-Sky 7 observers who are nearby, whether they would join this first search on the Sunday afternoon, meeting point 3 p.m. I did a number of phone calls, and of course, while driving on the motorway, long distance, at some time you also have to take gas, and that's for sure, yes. The car is not driving without gas. And after leaving the gas station, I enter the highway again, and again I get an incoming phone call, and I'm a little distracted at this very moment, and I miss the alert of my smartphone for a speeding trap and get a nice little picture from the police 6 weeks later, which is a little expensive. Cost me like $150 or something. So that was the downside of this morning, but anyhow, at 14:59, 1 minute before 3 p.m., I arrive at Möller after a 550-kilometer drive, and you see there's already a small group from AKM has gathered and is ready to start. Who's missing? Andreas is missing because Andreas has a long distance to drive from Berlin, 50 kilometers. He was 10 minutes late. Yeah, okay, he was still busy in the morning. But then it means at 10 minutes past 3, the team was there and we were ready to start. Long story short, 13 hours and 38 minutes exactly after the fall of the meteorite, we have been in the field. And this is the point where I hand over to Andreas to tell us about what happens then.
Good. Thank you very much, Sirko. First of all, I have to apologize. I'm a little bit sick, so if I'm coughing, so I hope I can make it through, or we can make it through. So, there we go. Okay, so we have met in Möller, which is nearby, and our first search actually happened in Pessin. I would skip that pretty fast because it's kind of boring. We did not find anything, which was clear, to be honest, because the strewnfields that Mike has created actually did not contain any wind data. So it was fast and it was accurate, but unfortunately not calculated with wind data. But it was pretty good to check out the environment. And what we could see actually is, and that's very important for that fall, that there is no vegetation at all, right? The ground was frozen. That means like also the meteorites, they would not like dig into the earth. So they supposed to be on top. By the way, Sirko, here's something we forgotten. Yeah. And also, what did we do? We were looking for the typical meteorites, what you can see here, like the black stones, which is supposed to be like, we're looking for like that. And we didn't find anything, which was clear. So next days, we had further attempts, and also like our friends from the museum in Berlin, and from the DLR, they grabbed some students from the FU Berlin, and they also did some ground search. By the way, Peter Jennings made it to Berlin, and he joined the ground search with the museum together. And next day, Pavel, who's also here, he made the first calculation of the strewnfield, including the wind data. And that's changed a little bit the conditions, because now what you can see here, right, that's why we were looking for Pessin, and Möller is by the way here. And now we knew what is the area where we need to search for the meteoroids. And as you can see, like this is Ribbeck, here's Berge, Litzow. We did not find anything as well. Right? And we were like, okay, why? It's getting a little bit weird. Days are passing. Also, the museum guys don't find anything. And then there is some news. I don't want to spoil that, but wait a second, sorry, I have to, there we go. I don't want to spoil that because you can be very excited for the next talk from Pavel, but there was like an analysis of the spectrum of the meteor, and what you could see there is like it was pretty low on iron. So there was the assumption it might not be that typical chondrite, what you see here. It might be that it's something unusual, like an achondrite. And yeah, it's gonna be follow up in the next talk, so don't want to spoil it. That changed a little bit the conditions, and finally there was a find on Thursday, on 25th of January, by Polish meteorite hunters. And they found that piece of rock here, and you can see already that doesn't look usual, right? It has like a light fusion crust, it's not black, and they were also unsure if it's a meteorite or not. So they were asking the guys from the museum, by the way, what they found was like about 470 grams, 3 fragments. And they were asking the guys from the museum as well. And then they came together and they decided, yes, that's the meteorite. So, and now the search begins, because that information was published in the internet, on social media, and that changed a lot. And you see, it's Thursday, there are people like me who have to work, and you don't know how excited that was. I was really like, come on, be weekend. And finally, on weekend, we, as a AKM, we came together and we were meeting there and started our very first ground hunt. So, and Peter, who actually was one of the guys who saw the fireball, we met together and we had a little plan because we wanted to meet with one of the finders. And that was pretty important because we wanted to check out how do the Ribbeck meteorites actually look like. And so we met at Ribbeck. By the way, this is because of there were some farmer protests, so there were everywhere these Jews in Ribbeck. And yeah, that was the first actual real Ribbeck meteorite we have seen. And there are two very important things that made it clear that it was a real meteorite. First of all, there were these cracks. They were pretty typical for that meteorites. And they were stinking as hell, right? You put them into a little plastic bag, you wait for like 1 minute and you smell, and they smell like hydrotic sulfur, like rotten eggs, like that. Yeah, so these two criteria were really important for us to verify if our finds were real meteorites. And like these type of stones, you have like thousands on the field. So the search is pretty difficult, to be honest. So let's the search begin. AKM meets at 9 o'clock at the parting log. And I don't know, like, who of you knows festivals, right, or who goes to festivals, but if you arrive to a festival, that is the first thing you will see. Right, let's go, there's a very famous metal festival in north of Germany, it's called Wacken. So if you arrive to Wacken, there are the metalheads already waiting next to the street, drinking their beer, saying everyone else like, hello. Then you go to the camping place and you get your you get like someone is arranging your car and say like, hey, here's your parking lot. Yeah, that's how it goes. And as you can see, we are kind of international. Felix, who joined also the search, was from the Netherlands. Antal was there. Yeah. And now, 1915, the actual search begins. So very important, the conditions were perfect, right? There was no high crop and whatever. And here you can see like when we start walking into the field, it was still cold, but you can see the snow was melted. And the first area what we are searching was a big winter raps seed field, and it looked like that. And by that time, we didn't know what it is. We thought like, okay, it's some, I don't know, like old crop from last winter. It's gonna be important, but wait for it. So 8 minutes later, Ina, he is like the board member of the AKM, she shouts over the field, and it was a little bit like that. Hey guys, here is something, can you come over please? And because like Peter and me, we have seen how a real Ribbeck looked like, we were responding like, yes, of course, coming. So I put my back on the ground, was running, and she found kind of that stone. And guess what? It was a real one. 8 minutes after we started our search. It was, of course, luck. Yeah, of course, we have to now be very careful. We did everything like, it's a little bit laggy, okay. We had to protocol everything, taking the coordinates, of course, wearing gloves, because our aim was to provide this material for the science. And here is a lucky finder, Ina, with the first meteorite. Why did we have the plastic bags? Right, to make the smell test. And it stinks, and it was a real one. So 8 minutes, and then everything happened pretty fast. So the history continues like that. I guess here's another one. And how about that? And look at that. And yes, there were real meteorites. And we assume actually that there was a big one. It was like 45 grams in total. And it was like cracked like right before it hits the earth. And so in an area about like 5 square meters, we found like, I don't know, like let's say 10 or 15 little Ribbecks. And here is another sample we have found. That piece, by the way, was the first meteorite that was analyzed actually by Adi Bischoff. And Adi Bischoff was also in the field, so we had the opportunity to give that directly to him for scientific reasons. Yeah, also Peter found a meteorite, come on, like that one here. And that meteorite, what he found, went to the VKTA. I don't know if you know that. It's a like underground laboratory in Dresden where they do an analysis and they checking if it's like a real meteorite by measuring the nuclides, the short-living radionuclides. And yeah, I think like 1 day later he brought it to the research area in the VKTA, and they started the analysis. Yeah, some moving pictures. That's how it looked like. And you can see like we were on 2 sides. Yeah. So, more meteorites found. And that's not what we expected actually, right? Especially like 8 minutes after we started. Yeah, as I already mentioned, Adi Bischoff, I think he's well known here, and he enters the strewnfield. He's also a passionate meteorite hunter. Unfortunately, he did not find anything, but we had, again, the big opportunity to have a talk and also to check if it's a real one. And he confirmed, yes, it's very high likely that's kind of some achondritic material. And here it's where we hand over the sample. And so the search continues. Next lucky finder was Jürgen Rentel, who found the second AKM piece together with his family. I think you brought the sample, right? Yeah. So later on, you have the chance to see that. And now I want to give you like an impression actually how it looks like. So our friend Felix, I think it was you who had a drone, or was it Gerd? Gerd, it was Gerd. Gerd-Jan, he had a drone, and here you can see how it looks like, how it looks like from the top. Come on. Yep. And Actually, when you plan the search and you go for Google Maps and all that stuff, you like, okay, that's the area I want to search, that's where we walk. But if you are there, you see it's pretty big, that area. And now imagine like that. I'm working here on the field, and there is like this rep seat next to me, and your visual area is only like about like 3 meters, right? And if there is a meteorite like 5 meters next to you, you won't find it. So actually the area is pretty big, and now you can see what kind of an effort it is to find something, and that's why we were actually so lucky to find it that fast. Yeah, and while I was walking over the field, there was no sun, and it was pretty good actually because you have low contrasts. And then suddenly in the afternoon the sun came out, and I said like to Peter, who was walking next to me, "Hey Peter, I think search is over because the contrasts are so high you don't see anything." And guess what happened? Like very far there was something very light shining, and it was another meteorite that I have found. It was the third one of the day, and you can see it was very light. And my assumption is that it's very fresh material, right? It's not like rotten or molded, so it's very fresh material, and it reflects the light, so that's why they are shining. And yeah, so I was lucky to find my personal first meteorite, and it has a name like crumbled meteorite in the AKM, because as you can see, it was fallen apart. I think like the ground was icy, and because of that, like it cracked. It's fallen apart, but it's fine. I'm proud. So it was the third AKM find of the day, and you can see it's gonna be a long day. Now, attention, this is the police. Yeah, they were coming with 3 police cars, and there was also the farmer here. And now I want to tell you what is the story behind actually the rep seed. So first of all, we thought like it's old corn from the last year, so we did not care about it, but actually it's not. It was seeded like in October, and the farmer told us actually this kind of seed is very sensitive. So if you step on it, it's dying. And there were a lot of people actually, a lot of hunters, we were not the only ones. So of course, the farmer was a little bit afraid of his, in the end, of his income, right? It's his foundation of living. And we can understand. And we had a pretty nice talk together. And he was interested in, hey guys, why do you search on my field? And we were interested in, hey, why are we not allowed to step on the flowers? So we had a very nice talk and conversation. Yeah, and funny thing was like, police did not. So we had to pull them out. And here you can see the reason why the farmer was concerned. So like a lot of cars were coming after us. And of course, if you see people destroying your income, right, your foundation of your living, then of course you can understand why the farmer was concerned. Yeah, so he closed the area, and because he was such a nice guy, we decided to make him a little present, and that's Peter, right? Peter Kalm, he's the owner of that field, and we gave him as a present a real Ribbeck meteorite we have found that was found on his field. Yeah, I think it's a pretty nice gesture. So, summary of the day. It was a long day, even when it was winter. We had 3 finds, right? The first one, about 46 gram, then Jürgen's find, and finally my find. And now here we have our GPS tracks, where you can see actually we didn't make that much. And it's a little chaotic. Next day, the search continues. AKM enters the strewnfield, new support, legs starting to hurt, by the way. It's not easy. And now we decided, let's do it a little more systematic, right? The first day was chaotic. We were just like, everybody was running like to the field as he wished. And now we said like, okay, let's build some lines. So we were like building rows, and we decided, okay, this is our fixed point. Let's walk over there. Let's search the field, and then we come back. And the reason is we can cover like large areas in a very short time. And here we go. Didn't find anything. What we found were actually another search group from the museum guys. So we decided to join them. And they did actually the same. They were just more people. I would say like 25 or 30 people. And it was pretty interesting because everybody had its own tactic. Like I liked that one. It worked out. And they were pretty efficient. And now I show you a video of a find. That's how it looked like. Unfortunately, we don't have sound, but they were shouting and they were happy about the find. And they had I would say in the time when we were there, they had like a frequency of like, they had a find every 30 minutes. So they were very efficient. I call them a little bit the locusts because they were really like going over the field. And every time there was a field, like everybody came there and was happy. Yeah, here you can see the guy, that is Lutz Hecht. And he was actually the coordinator of that search of the museum guys. Yeah, and you see the students. Yeah, can we make maybe sound? Is it possible that we? If not, it's fine.
Halt alle wissen, wie es aussieht.
Genau, auf jeden
And
Fall.
you can see.
Wenn Dominik sagt, ja, ich glaube, das ist einer, habe ich immer den TV-Spot im Kopf. Und wenn du jetzt auch noch sagst, das ist ein schönes Exemplar.
So, here's the happy finder. Yeah, so some of our members had to go to vacation and they left us a message in the chat. Of course, they found another Ribbeck meteorite. And it's a curse, by the way. The Ribbecks are only found when you go back to the car. It's always like that. Nobody knows why. Yeah, so at 13:15, there was another find by Petra. So here's some impressions from the field. That's how it looked like. Now here we have some meteorite droppers. They drop false meteoroids, be aware of that. And the day ended with this beautiful sunset. But fortunately, not for us, because our friend Antal here, he also found another meteoroid at right after sunset, I would say, or right before sunset. And Antal found that meteoroid here, which is actually pretty special. Why it's special, I'm going to tell you in the end of the talk. So 2 finds the next day, like 4.7 gram from Petra and Antal with like 25 grams. That's the area we have covered. And now you can see like it was a little bit more systematic, right? So funny story. Peter, I'm going to translate that to English. He wrote a message. Guys, last night I was dreaming about meteoroids. I was in the forest and there was like a meteoroid with 40 to 50 kilograms. I could not go there because like it's a forest and my car did not reach that. So I put the meteoroid on my jacket and I was rolling up through hours through the forest to the car. And then I was waiting for you guys. It's crazy. And now I really think about to go another day on Thursday and I have to find the big one. You can see it's not only the feats, it's also the mentality. Yeah, and now like after everything started, the rush in Ribbeck started, right? We were not the only one on the fields. There were a lot of other international people like from US, from a lot of Polish people, also Czech people. And I want to show you now a little bit what happened in Ribbeck itself. So first of all, it was weak. I had to work. That was bad. So I had to wait for the next weekend. And next weekend was in February. And the weather changed. It was forecasted to be very heavy rain, heavy wind and rain. And the combination is not a good one. Anyway, Sirko, Ina, and me, we had to find stuff. So that's how it looks like. Very good conditions actually, except of the weather. Yeah, the field was like it's a perfect, right? It's perfect when you see the meteorites, you just have to collect them from the top. But the difficulty is like they are not black. Right? The difficulty is you have to distinguish: is it either like a normal flint rock or is it like a Ribbeck meteorite? But you can see it was muddy, right? Shoes look like that. And also look at my jeans, right? They were wet, and if you walk with wet jeans, I know everybody knows that feeling is not the best one. Yeah, now there is some sound, but it looks like I found another one. Yeah. And that was my second Ribbeck
Der
meteorite
neueste
I have
Besucher
found.
auf der Erde. Wahnsinn.
Okay.
Gratulation.
Danke, danke. Hier war er, ne?
I quoted.
Ja.
It was
Hier wir jetzt erstmal, wird gemessen.
something like "Welcome to Earth," what he said. Yeah. So, fourth AKM meteorite, and for me was a second one. Pretty happy, especially because of the weather. It's not a pleasure to work in that kind of conditions in the rain, and yeah. So also after the find, I decided to go home. Right? So first of all, maybe some details. You can see it's an oriented meteoroid. Like at the bottom, it's a bit more black than at the top, and it's like a droplet. So I assume it was like oriented. And here are the lucky finders. And very important, of course, that picture that has to be. Yeah. So after that day, we decided, no, we're gonna stop. We are hungry, we are starving, so we have to go somewhere. And there is like a nice place in Ribbeck. It's a very famous one because I don't know the international guys. If you know Ribbeck, it's famous from a poem from Theodor Fontane, and it like everyone in Germany learned it in school. And it has to deal with piers. So what they serve there is actually like pier. What is taught in English? Cake, yeah. So pier cake, and they just said like, okay, now it's gonna be meteoroid cake. And that's how it looked like. So, and they learned actually from the scientists that they use that aluminium foil. And so they decided like, okay, why not? It was pretty tasty, by the way. Also, that guy made a song about the search. I can play that now, but I think like with an international audience, it doesn't make any sense because it's in German, unfortunately. And to be honest, I was pretty busy and I was sick the days. I wanted to do some subtitles, but I really apologize. Otherwise, I would have shown you now that song. If you're interested, come to me later. And if you know German. So they made their own song. I'm gonna skip that. So, Saturday, one find from me. And as you can see, again, it was a pretty lucky one, right? Because we didn't cover a lot. And now, very interesting, there was a rumor that there might be another main mass, and Sirko, he decided that's my thing. I want to find that. So every time when Sirko was on the field and was looking for the meteorites, he wanted to go to the western part of the strewnfield to find the large ones. Spoiler, he did not find. Next day, again, Andre and Sirko, I was out, my legs were hurting, my jeans were wet, but they give up, right? I just gonna quote it. Didn't make fun today. Wind was so heavy, like at the free field, it was blown me away. Same for Andre, he also gave up. But Andre, he wrote later a message again in WhatsApp, and he said like, look, haha. But I have to say, like, Andre was not sure, because remember what I said. There were two criteria. There were the cracks, and there was a smell. And Andre didn't smell that. So Andre was like, okay, could be, I just take it home. And fortunately he did. So, and when the meteorite was drying at home, then Andre realized, oh, stinks, it's the real one. Yeah, and that's Andre's find. But happy. So at this day, Andre found another AKM meteoroid. Here you can see, that's the area we have covered. And Sirko, I don't have a track here, but I guess where it is. The search continues, and I want to show you how it is. That video is a real one. It's not like made it like in Hollywood. Now, the people did not know that I'm filming because they were very focused. And actually, that is what we are doing the whole day. And as you can imagine, it's not fun for your legs. It's also not fun for your mental health. For the reason, most of the time you don't find anything. Of course, I'm showing you the happy moments, but you will get bored if I show you like this all the time. Here you can see like how focused the people are. Felix did not know that I'm filming. Also, it's not fun because it's dangerous. Like, Andre was thinking a lot. You might wonder how Andre got out of that situation. That's how he did. But it was fun anyway, because of the reason we were finding other hunters, and we were talking with them, chatting with them. We had fun, like AKM, like we had to do like a halo, solar halo. So it was fun to meet the people and to walk around. And of course, there were other finds. They were not our finds, but there were still other finds. So like that little baby here. And what we covered during that time, you can see it's a lot actually, but no finds for us. Yeah, and then I say like, hey, it's over. Everything was found, I gave up. But there was still a little gap in the strewnfield, because I was looking for like, asking the people and collecting some data. And there was a little gap. And why was so? The reason why that was, I'm gonna skip a little bit because of time, sorry. The reason was, there was very dense rapeseed. And it was pretty tough to find anything in there. And I think there was only one find in that big field. And the other fields, actually, they were full of footsteps. So everything was already covered and searched. Then the grass starts to grow, the tractors going over the fields. And also here in that field, it's pretty tough to find any meteorites, right? So you find only flintstones like that one. But if you look closer, wait a second. No, that could be. And I was lucky. I didn't expect that, but I found my third one, right? And was pretty happy to find the third meteorite, and that is a pretty nice one because it's like covered like fully by the fusion crust. And here, right, Mirko, I don't know, some of you might know him, he's pretty jealous. And also, maybe some of you guys know this guy, this is Ralf Sporn. He found actually all of the German meteorite faults, the main masses from Stubenberg and Neuschwanstein, so yeah. And I said again, it's a curse. It was while I was giving up and walking back to the car. That's normal. In the meanwhile, Sirko, he decided to go level up. Yeah, it worth it, but unfortunately, I think Sirko, right, you know how it ended. Yeah, that was Sirko's track, by the way. So that was the last find from the AKM, and now I want to show you a little bit why it's so hard to find the meteorites. There are a lot of meteor wrongs. So for instance, like these kind of stones, they do look like Ribbeck, but they are not real Ribbecks. And I think everyone who was there out there searching has a huge collection of stones that are not meteorites. Also, there was a lot of fertilizer, fake meteorites. That's how it looks like if a pigeon got hit by a meteorite. Unfortunately, the finder has already collected it. Peter found that one. No luck, unfortunately. Also, some archaeological stuff was found. And very interesting, the museum guys, they found a bomb. It's not funny, it was a real bomb. They were calling like the defending guys. So that's Germany. So I already mentioned, I was in deep contact with other finders from like Poland, etc. And I was asking in Facebook, hey guys, can you please share the location where you have found the meteorite? Can you please share the rate? Can you please share the date when you have found it? And I was collecting all the data and creating a strewn field. First of all, for us, because we wanted to know like how it looks like, where to search. Later on for science. That's how it looks like. So that is able for the AKM. Don't need to know the details, doesn't matter. But the result is pretty interesting. And I'm very proud to say, I think this is the most accurate and the most detailed strewn field of a fall that ever in history was collected. For the reason, I think, my personal belief is we found more than 80% of the meteoroids that have been found. Actually, we know where they have been found. And we know it with the rate, we know it with the dry mass, we know it with the fallen mass, and we know also the date when it was found. And in total, we have covered actually like 302 finds with a total mass of 1.79 kilogram. And the last find actually was not that far ago. It was like on 11th of July. And there was one guy, he was very, very ambitious, and he was more than 60 days out on the field, and he found the last one. And with that data, we actually can figure out how good Pavel was. And now I'm gonna spoil that. Pavel was pretty good. Right, here you can see the calculation. Let's see that area here. And you can see the strewnfield. And also here, consider that one. There was one little find. Now the question is, why are there no finds here? We don't know. It could be like a bias of the finders. Also here, like there is this barrier, and I know that this field south of it, not many people were searching here. Most people were searching that one here because there were finds. And we don't know if there is something in between here because only a few people were searching. But Pavel, congratulations, very great job. Now let's go into some details. How do they look like? And here's my last find, the third meteoroid. And what I have observed is there are like 3 types of fusion crust. I would call this a primary fusion crust. It's a little bit darker, but also there is a lighter one. It is still fusion crust, but my assumption is like it was like falling apart while it was crashing through the atmosphere and breaking into many pieces. And I think like this fusion crust must have been developed like halfway. That's my assumption. I don't know. It's up for the scientists. Also, which is pretty interesting, and what I have seen for the very first time, like all the Ribbeck meteoroids, they have some kind of, I call it like meteoroid foam. And you can find that like everywhere. So for example, here's another one. This is a find from Antal. And you can see here like the foam. And why do I call that foam? Let's zoom in a little bit, right? It's like when you take a bus, you have a tube. Now let's zoom in even more. And the guys from the museum, they told me actually, like there are some theories. Is it like gas from the meteoroid itself? Is it maybe some interstellar atmosphere that is here covered? Would be cool actually. But it's atmosphere from the Earth. That's what they told me. And it kind of looks very fancy, looks like glass. So it's very unusual. I have never seen that before. Also, there are some very interesting meteoroids, like this high velocity bullet here. It's like as big as my little fingernail here, right? And also that one here, it's pretty fancy. Yeah, now you can actually check what is the material of that. And here I went to the Museum of Berlin, and they have an analysis which is called like micro RFA. And what they do is there is a little laser, and they are scanning like the surface of the meteoroid, and they can detect like what is that, what kind of material is that. And here you can see that the theory, what we're gonna see next, like that the fireball is actually low on iron is true. You can also see like the green parts here, it's pretty low on iron. And we already know it's an orbit. So orbits, they are like this magnesium silicates, so low iron. Here it's proven. So last but not least, what happened with our AKM finds? Of course, we provided a lot of samples to science, but also we want to make them public for like museums or other associations. So of course, if you want to see the Ribbeck meteoroids, you can go to the museum in Berlin, Naturkundemuseum, or you can go to the Sternwarte in Sonneberg, which is at the border from Thüringen and Bavaria. Also the planetarium in Wolfsburg, what we have seen in the video, where the camera, the AMS number, whatever, yeah, the place where the fireball was recorded. Now we have a sample there, and also pretty soon at another camera place in Demmin, like in Mecklenburg-Vorpommern. Yeah, what have we achieved now? First of all, we could record and analyze the fireball in detail, right? The AMS camera network. And after 13 hours and 30 minutes, we were the very first people who started the search. And I don't know, but I think it's the fastest, we were the fastest in history, right? I think we can beat it with the next fall. Also, we were searching systematically the strewnfield within our scope. We found about like 228 grams of meteorite, and we were able to make Z samples to give that to science. For instance, to Adi Bischof, University of Münster, the VKTA, TU Delft, and the Museum of Berlin. And also, we supported press with data. And last but not least, what I did was I wrote the article from Wikipedia about Ribbeck. Now, to the end of the talk, I want to show you our samples in detail and tell you a little bit about them. This was the first find we have made after about 8 minutes from Ina. This was a second find, but belongs to the same search area. If you see the dolphin, you will always see it when you see that picture. So that is the second find from Jürgen. And now comes my crumbled meteorite. So part number 1. This part here is going to be visible soon for public. This one already is. You can see that one in Wolfsburg. That was a find from Petra, the fourth one. And now coming back to the find from Antal, which I think this one is very, very beautiful because it has it looks just beautiful. It's like 25 grams. And what makes it so special, it's gonna be also very soon exhibited at the Concoli Observatoria, that place where actually Christian has discovered the 2024 BX1. And I think this is like the best place for that little beauty here. So now my second find, and then the find from Andre, and my last find. Altogether, these are our 8 AKM finds, a lot of crumbs. And I invite you later on, of course, we have brought some samples here. Maybe let's open just one. I invite you to have a closer look. And you are free to have a live presentation of some of our Ribbeck meteorites. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Andreas, for this and of course, Sirko, for this very nice talk. Are there any questions in the room? Yes, perhaps.
On the analysis of the element, how large the size of the space resolution?
I don't know that, to be honest. That's something because these are the guys from the museum who own that device. I had the honor only to share the pictures with you. So, but I think it's pretty damn small. Let's phrase it like that. Yes. I mean, what's your question? Like the question was like, what's the resolution of the samples, right? Or what is the size of the sample they have analyzed? Like the sample itself, I think it was like my big thumbnail, would assume, yeah. But I don't know, to be honest.
Is there any other question from the room? Yes.
Do you have some picture or data about the orbit of asteroid or meteorite?
I think that will be next, yes. There is another one.
Oh, hi there, Max. So I was wondering, how come, like, where are the organics that were linked to the sort of smell? Did you figure out which one were these organic molecules that smell so badly?
What I have heard that it was like calcium sulfate. I don't know if it's the correct English pronunciation. That's what they told me. Again, I'm not a scientist, so everything what I'm saying here, please take it for real. But that's what they told me. There was a reaction of the calcium sulfate with the atmosphere, and that caused actually that smell.
You mentioned that this meteorite is low on iron. Is it at least weakly magnetic or not at all?
I haven't tried, but I know other people tried, and they said not at all. But very interesting side fact, there are some people who, because of the smell, they decided to train their dogs in the garden. It really happened. And they were out of the field, but they didn't find anything with that method.
Any other question? It seems there are also no online questions. Let me recheck. No. I have one question myself to perhaps both of you. Is there any lessons learned for a next meteorite fall here? Please keep it rather short.
I would say from my perspective, if you want to find something, go to the areas where the smaller samples are. Right? There is like this statistical curve, like small samples, many samples, large samples, little amount of samples. So if you want to find something, search more where the lowers are. And I think Sirko's learning as well.
Anything to add on that, Sirko, or not specifically? No.
I think many things that we learned, but it's, I would say every case is unique. And yes, we learned something now. It was our very first time, but the next one will be completely different. So it was definitely exciting.
Okay, thank you very much for this talk. Let's thank the talkers again.